Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. When you think about the future of our planet, one of the biggest concerns is climate change and global warming. In fact, according to a UN report released just last week, the concentration of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, CO2, has jumped 20% since 2000. Take a look.
UN talks on a new climate pact resume Monday in oil and gas-rich Qatar, where negotiators from nearly 200 countries discussed ways to fight global warming and help poorer nations adapt to it. So far, the two-decade-old talks have failed to reach their main target, reducing the greenhouse gas emissions that scientists say are warming the planet.
The door is closing fastly on us because the pace and the scale of action is simply not yet where it must be.
Traditionally, other countries have placed the blame on major powers like the U.S., accusing Washington of hampering the climate talks ever since the Bush administration abandoned the groundbreaking 1997 Kyoto Protocols. But the Obama administration is defending the nation's track records and claims it has made enormous attempts to slow global warming.
We can make sure that we are doing right by our environment.
Meanwhile, back at home, what effect will all of this have on average Americans, their lifestyles, and their wallets?
That's exactly the question.
Yeah.
How does it directly impact us? But before we get into that, does anyone else find it ironic that this two-week summit is held in Qatar? And I read that they emit more greenhouse gases per capita than any other nation.
Well,
and this is where we're having the summit on how to prevent that.
At least they're doing it in a building with solar panels.
Right. That makes it all better. But come on, it's like it's a bunk to me.
Well, again, maybe they'll address this irony in the conference proceedings, but it is very ironic.
It is. So how are we being affected? And can a solution, is a solution probable, even possible?
Ask Rush Limbaugh, it doesn't even exist.
What, climate change or the solution?
There's still people who think it doesn't really exist.
Climate
It's all
change?
an illusion.
Wow.
That's
right. Hurricane Sandy was an illusion?
Exactly.
Well, the sad part is that this debate became politicized back when, Al Gore, first entered the scene and started talking about stuff. It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
That it became politicized. But it's not a political issue. However, I think that
how could it not be?
It's not a political issue.
It shouldn't be a political
It has
issue.
become a political issue.
It should be a human issue.
It shouldn't be a political issue.
Most
but
people,
it
is.
yes, like I said, it has become politicized, but it really shouldn't be. I mean, a lot of dollars are at stake.
That's the thing. It's a money issue.
It's a money issue, and anything that deals with the economy.
Huge money
you even
issue.
have, the Dalai Lama calling on it as a spiritual issue and a moral issue and an ethical issue,
He
and
knows
not
a
an
good photo
issue
op when he sees
that
one.
Has to do with things. Bottom line is Arctic ice, for example, is melting at a faster rate from both caps now that they've ever seen before.
Doesn't that alarm you?
No, actually, ice is forming in Antarctica. It's melting on top and it's free-forming on the bottom.
No,
I read it last week.
Right.
But what does it mean? I don't know what it means.
What it means is that the ocean levels are rising, and what that means is that we're going to have more flooding. When you combine that with the sort of erosion of the coral reefs, which are natural ways that block flooding and block the sort of ways in which our levees are designed really to work within an ecosystem to help prevent flooding from happening in certain situations.
It's a horrific scenario.
Yes, and it's a combination of all those things. But listen,
and
it's
all
not
the
just
people
about
in the world
climate
live
change,
by the
it's also
water.
about pollution. And if we wonder why we can't get any traction on these issues, is because there are moneyed interests. There's big business in oil and in other things that prevent us from really getting to the real deal.
Let me just share this little anecdote. When I was in Florida as an anchor at WEAR, the ABC affiliate in Pensacola, which is in the South on the Panhandle, I noticed that there wasn't any curbside recycling. I'm from the Northeast. It's mandated here and has been for quite some time.
Part of your religion.
I started a program through the Pensacola Young Professionals to try and raise awareness of this, and we ended up getting all of the folks that were in the area to actually vote on it after a series of meetings and visits to the dump.
Well,
Trust me, that I did not want to go do, and they did vote it, and it's still in place, and this is 5-7 years after the fact.
You raised their consciousness, and they followed through.
Right, but what my point about that is it was cheaper for them to dump than it was to recycle based on the models they were using. And so if you can make it smarter for people and also raise their consciousness, then you're going to have a much greater success rate.
Right. Well, you bring up a good point because you're hitting upon this idea of the conflict between the environment and the economy. I mean, that's the bottom line. Anyone heard of fracking? This is a hot topic.
Upstate New York,
no pun
absolutely.
intended.
And in Pennsylvania as well.
Yes.
But
Let's take a look real quickly. Fracking
ahead.
101, and then WJ has the floor. Go ahead.
At the heart of one of the largest oil booms in U.S. history, the city of Williston in North Dakota. This was once a quiet farming community, but is fast becoming the Houston of the Midwest. In 2008, a new technology, hydraulic fracturing, now known as fracking, made the crude oil here recoverable. Williston's population of 12,000 has more than doubled since.
Were we totally ready for it? No, I don't know that you ever are, because it comes so much faster than you expect and with so much more intensity. We knew it was going to get busy, just not this busy.
Beneath Williston, the Bakken Geological Formation, an oil field roughly the size of West Virginia, holds an estimated 24 billion barrels of recoverable oil. Tapping into it has transformed this economy. North Dakota had more than $1 billion budget surplus last year. Unemployment is 3%, the lowest in the nation, bringing thousands of job seekers to the state.
Compared to anything and everything back home, I love it. I'm just under like $1,000 a week, which isn't bad.
But the oil rush has created new problems. Housing is scarce and new arrivals live wherever they can. Some companies put employees in temporary housing called man camps at a cost of around $3,000 to $4,000 per person per month. Locals face rising living costs and public services are under stress.
Our water system is failing and our sewer system is failing, and we can't accommodate this many people at this point.
The manager of this campground turned man camp says she sees hardship all around.
I don't work for the oil company or the industry at all, and when the prices went up and raised, tripled in price, it became very hard for people like me, and even worse for some people that don't have any income coming in, except for their Social Security.
Some of those left behind by the boom wish they could return to a time before oil. But with 7,000 oil wells drilled and another 45,000 planned, North Dakota's development has just begun.
Just begun. Frickin' frack. Obviously, fracking a highly controversial topic. I mean, where to begin? Just this morning, I don't know if there was a protest in London about 2 hours ago.
You gave me the floor. Don't forget.
Oh, right. I'm
Listen,
sorry.
We're going to sit in judgment now on what's happening with fracking. Yeah, it's disgusting. It really is. What it does to property values. But let's not forget that people who actually are allowing people to frack on their property are getting offered $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month to do that. It's hard to turn down. These
Would you turn it down?
Would I turn it down? I don't know. Ask on any given month. You got to ask me.
You just said you hate it. Really?
I
You're going to compromise your principles for a couple
$40 grand a month, actually have somebody for a limited amount of time.
That's part of the problem with this country. Compromising your principles for a couple bucks.
That is the same argument that you have with coal top mining, and you have, the top of the mountain mining. When you clear them, you're taking out all of the trees. And what the real problem is, even if they're planting grass and trees and things like that afterwards, you're actually killing the creeks and the streams and the sort of
conventional coal mining did the same thing. Just because taking the tops off mountains, that's ugly. It's disgusting. But actually, just regular. Look at the Susquehanna River going through Wilkes-Barre. That is like devastated, and it's not all from lifting the top off mountains.
James, how do you feel?
For generations.
I feel like we need to have a different sort of set of ethics in terms of business. I mean, if you're coming in and offering someone $30,000 a month, obviously people are going to be in need. They're going to need to do that. And to think of it this way, we're investing in fracking now. And for all the resistance that's going on, big companies are getting involved. You got all this sort of crazy propaganda about clean coal and about this idea that natural gas is the sort of future for America. That is not a good future for America. We haven't even done a proper assessment on what the full range of the impact is going to be on the environment. Listen, 1.7 million jobs right now is great, and it's going to be 3.5 million in the next 10, 15 years. But again, if we would just take that kind of energy and invest it in real clean sources of energy, in wind energy, in solar panels, in sort of retrofitting. We could invest in the things that we need for energy secure future. And we can't take shortcuts. And fracking is a shortcut.
And Governor Cuomo knows that. He won't let it happen in the New York metropolitan area, but it is okay upstate.
Of course it is.
Nobody's talking about the fact that there's radon in there. Radon can be toxic to people. You put
Go to
the
YouTube
American
and see the
way
people
is
who turn on their faucets
and flames coming out.
And flames.
Yes, we got to go to break.
Hazard.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Just ahead on the show, the future of our privacy. With social media dominating the cultural landscape, is privacy dead? This keeps me up at night. That's next. Stay with us.